The Sunday dinner was supposed to be peaceful. At least, that's what I thought when I accepted my son Daniel's invitation. I had spent most of the afternoon preparing a small dessert to bring with me. Nothing fancy, just the apple pie Daniel had loved since he was a child. When I arrived at his house, my daughter-in-law, Claire, greeted me with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Come in, Mom." I smiled. "Thank you. I brought something for dessert." Daniel came into the hallway and hugged me. "Mom, I'm glad you came." I looked around. The table had already been set. There were 4 plates, 4 glasses, and, strangely, 3 large folders sitting beside Claire's chair. I noticed them immediately. Claire noticed me looking. She smiled. "We'll talk about those after dinner." I thought perhaps they were documents related to the children's school. I didn't ask. Dinner started normally. We talked about the children, work, the weather, and some repairs Daniel had been making around the house, but Claire was unusually quiet. She kept looking at me. Finally, after everyone had finished eating, she stood up. "Okay," she said. "I think we're ready." I looked at Daniel. He didn't say anything. Claire picked up the 3 folders and placed them in front of me. "What are these?" I asked. She sat down. "We've been doing some financial planning." I opened the first folder. There was a spreadsheet. I looked at the numbers. Then I looked at Claire. "What is this?" She folded her hands on the table. "Your assets." My stomach tightened. "My assets." "Yes." Daniel looked uncomfortable. I turned another page. There were estimates of the value of my house, my savings, my investments, even the approximate value of some jewelry that had belonged to my late husband. I slowly closed the folder. "Why do you have this?" Claire answered as though the question were completely reasonable. "Because we need to plan for the future." "What future?" "Our future." She opened another spreadsheet. "We've calculated what your estate could be worth." I stared at her. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then she said something I will never forget. "We're ready to receive our inheritance." She said it casually, almost cheerfully, as if I were already dead. I looked at my son. Daniel stared at the table. "Daniel," I said quietly, "did you know about this?" He swallowed. "Yes." My heart sank. "How long?" "A few weeks." "And you didn't think I should know?" "Mom, I didn't know how to bring it up." I looked at the papers again. There were numbers everywhere. My house, my bank accounts, my investments, everything I had spent decades working for, everything my husband and I had saved for our retirement, and my family had apparently already divided it among themselves. Claire pointed to one of the pages. "We thought you could sell the house and move into something smaller." I looked up. "Excuse me, you don't need a house this large anymore." "I like my house, but it's worth a lot of money." "That doesn't mean it's yours." Her expression changed. "We're not saying it's ours yet." "Yet." She didn't answer. I stood up. "I'm going home." Daniel finally spoke. "Mom, wait." "No. Please." I looked at him. "I came here for dinner." "I know." "I didn't come here to sit at a table while my own family planned what they would do with my property after I died." Claire sighed. "You're making this more dramatic than it is." I turned toward her. "No, Claire. You made it very clear." She crossed her arms. "We're just trying to plan ahead. Then plan ahead with your own money." I picked up my purse. Daniel stood. "Mom." I stopped him with one look. "I love you, Daniel." He looked hurt. "But I will not allow you or anyone else to treat me as though I'm already dead." Then I walked out. The drive home was difficult. Not because I was angry, because I was heartbroken. I kept thinking about Daniel, my little boy, the child I had raised after his father died, the child I had worked extra hours for, the child whose college tuition I had helped pay, the child I had supported when he started his first business. I never expected repayment. I never wanted repayment, but I had expected love, respect, and perhaps a little gratitude. Instead, my son had sat silently while his wife calculated my death. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I got out of bed and walked into my study. I opened an old drawer. Inside was a photograph of my husband and me standing in front of our house on the day we bought it. We were young, poor, excited, and completely unaware of what life would eventually become. My husband had always told me one thing: whatever happens, make sure you can stand on your own feet. After he died, I remembered those words. I had spent years building a life that didn't depend on anyone. And now, somehow, my own family had started treating that independence as an opportunity. I picked up my phone. There was one person I needed to call: my attorney. I had worked with him for years. His name was Michael. I called him the next morning. Michael, I need to review my estate plan. There was a pause. Is everything okay? No. I explained what had happened. He listened carefully. When I finished, he said, "Come to my office tomorrow." I did. Michael reviewed everything: my will, my trust, my property documents, my accounts, my investments. Then he asked me a question. "Do you want to change your beneficiaries?" I looked at him. "I don't know yet. You don't have to decide today. I want to make sure no one can pressure me." "They can't. What if someone tries to take control of my finances?" "Then we'll put safeguards in place." "What about my house?" "If it's yours, you decide what happens to it." I nodded. Then Michael leaned back. "You know, there's something else." "What?" "You're allowed to enjoy your money while you're alive." I smiled sadly. I've spent most of my life worrying about everyone else. Maybe it's time to worry about yourself. Those words stayed with me. Over the next several days, I made changes. Not out of revenge, out of clarity. I updated my estate documents. I created stronger protections around my accounts. I reviewed my beneficiaries. And I made one decision that surprised even me. I decided I was going to stop living as though my entire purpose was to leave something behind. Instead, I would use my remaining years to actually live. I booked a trip. I donated to a community organization. I finally renovated the kitchen I had postponed for years. And I started taking weekend trips with friends. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for permission. Then Daniel called. "Mom, can we talk?" "Yes." "Claire feels terrible." I almost laughed. She didn't look terrible Sunday. She knows she went too far. "What about you?" He was silent. "I made a mistake." "Yes, you did." "I should have stopped her." "Yes." I was afraid of arguing with her. I closed my eyes. "Daniel, you're my son. I will always love you." "Thank you." "But love doesn't erase consequences." "I understand." "Do you?" "Yes." "Then prove it." For several weeks, things became quiet. No calls, no visits, no arguments. I thought perhaps the situation had finally settled. Then on Thursday evening, I received an unexpected letter. It was from an attorney representing Claire and Daniel. They wanted clarification about my property. I immediately forwarded it to Michael. His response came within minutes. "Don't respond directly." I didn't. The next day, another letter arrived. Then another. By Friday afternoon, I was sitting in my living room when I heard a car outside. I looked through the window. It was Daniel. Claire was with him, and another man was standing beside them. I recognized him from the letter. My attorney had warned me not to engage, so I didn't open the door. Daniel knocked. "Mom." I stayed silent. He knocked again. "Mom, please open the door." I didn't move. Claire stepped forward. "We need to talk." Still, I remained silent. Then the knocking became pounding. "Mom." I stood in the hallway. My hands were shaking. Not because I was afraid of them, because I couldn't believe it had come to this. My own son was standing outside my locked door demanding access to my life. Claire shouted, "You can't shut us out." I finally walked toward the door. I didn't open it. Instead, I spoke through it. "I am not shutting you out," Claire yelled. "Then open the door." "No." There was silence. Then Daniel said quietly, "Mom, please." I answered, "Daniel, I love you, but this house is mine." He said nothing. I continued, "You are not entitled to my money." Another silence. "You are not entitled to my property." I could hear Claire breathing heavily. "And you are certainly not entitled to make plans for my death while I'm still alive." Claire shouted, "We're family." I answered, "Family doesn't calculate someone's death before the funeral." Silence. No one had an answer. The attorney standing with them finally stepped forward. "Mrs. Harris, we're not here to threaten you." "Then why are you here?" "We were asked to discuss potential arrangements." "I already have arrangements." "Perhaps we can." "No." I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm, and somehow that made me stronger. "I have an attorney." The man nodded. "Then we should speak with him." "You should." He turned toward Daniel and Claire. They exchanged a look. Then Claire said, "This isn't over." I answered quietly, "It doesn't have to be." They left. I watched their car disappear down the street. Then I closed the curtains, and I cried. Not because I regretted what I had done, because I finally understood how far things had gone. A month later, Daniel came to see me alone. He stood at the door. I almost didn't let him in, but something inside me said I should. We sat in the living room. He looked older, tired. "Mom," he said, "I need to apologize." I listened. I was wrong. I said nothing. "I let Claire convince me that your money was somehow part of our future." I looked at him. "It isn't." "I know. You should have known from the beginning." "I should have." He looked down. "I was thinking about my children." "I understand. But I forgot that you are a person too." That sentence broke something inside me, because it was the first time he had said it. A person, not a mother, not a bank account, not a house, not an inheritance. A person. I reached over and touched his hand. "I don't want to punish you." "I know. I want you to understand something." "What?" "You may never receive what you thought you were going to receive." He nodded. "And you need to be okay with that." "I will." "You can't build your future around someone else's death." He looked at me. "I understand now." "Good." He began crying. "So do I." Our relationship didn't become perfect overnight. Trust doesn't work that way. But we started again, slowly, carefully. Daniel began visiting without asking about money. Claire eventually apologized. It took her longer. But one afternoon, she came to my house alone. She stood at the door. "Can I come in?" I nodded. She sat down. "I was wrong. I waited. I treated your property like it belonged to me." "Yes, I treated you like an obstacle between me and the life I wanted." I didn't interrupt. "And I forgot that you were going to be here to see all of it." I looked at her. That was the part that hurt most. "I know." She wiped her eyes. "I can't undo it." "No, but I can do better." I nodded. That is all anyone can do. Years later, I still lived in the same house. The house my husband and I had bought. The house my children had grown up in. The house my daughter-in-law had once planned to sell. But something was different. The house no longer felt like a burden. It felt like freedom. I had turned one room into a small library. Another became a guest room. I traveled. I spent time with my grandchildren. And I stopped apologizing for enjoying the life I had worked so hard to build. One evening, my granddaughter asked me, "Grandma, are you going to leave this house to us someday?" I smiled. "Maybe." She laughed. "But you don't know." No. Why? Because you shouldn't. Build your life around what someone else might leave you. She thought about that. Then she asked, what should we build our lives around? I smiled. Your own dreams. She hugged me. And in that moment, I realized something. My greatest inheritance would never be the house. It would never be the money. It would never be the jewelry or the investments. It would be the lesson I had learned the hard way. Your family may love you, but that does not give them ownership over your life. Your kindness does not make your money theirs. And your age does not mean you are already gone. That Sunday dinner changed everything. 3 spreadsheets had been placed on my table as though my life were already over. But those papers didn't end my story. They began a new chapter. A chapter where I stopped waiting for other people to appreciate me. A chapter where I protected myself without becoming bitter. A chapter where I learned that saying no doesn't make you selfish. Sometimes saying no is how you protect the life you've spent decades building. And that Friday, when they stood outside my locked door, I realized something even more important. The door wasn't locked because I hated them. It was locked because, for the first time, I understood that I was allowed to decide who had access to me. My home, my money, and my peace. And sometimes the strongest thing an aging parent can do is refuse to let their family treat them like an inheritance, waiting to happen